Good morning. This is the Container Chick, courtesy of Live from the Ground, or Live from the Ground. Same thing. And I'm redirecting my channel to talk more about gardening and life instead of life and gardening, if that makes sense. Today is what they call daylight savings time. Here in New Jersey, it's about 8:30 a.m. and I'm doing what I do. And I am going to talk about, my channel will be about gardening in containers, no matter where you are, and how you can live from the ground and keep yourself and your family together. I'd first like to thank a lot of people out there who share all their gifts of knowledge, especially Lead Farmer, Granny Karma, Homestead Heart, Gary Plelcherek. I think he's in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. There's a whole bunch of people who, if I fail to mention you, trust me, you have not been unappreciated. I just happen to be driving right now, so, but I will update my thanks later. However, things are and have always been what they are. But right now, we're in some times, as we always have been, that are unprecedented. And I'd like to say, before I start posting some of my things that I do, is that some people are, during this situation, world situation, there are people trying to learn gardening, providing food for themselves on the fly, and by growing in their windowsills or however they could. I've watched some other people mention that and laugh about it, and I felt a little saddened by that, because I say E for effort. Now, E for effort for me means when I was a young girl and in school, in grammar school, we called it, where I lived in New Jersey, we went from K through 8, and that was considered grammar school, and high school was 9 through 12. So when I was in grammar school, the marking system was E for excellent, G for good, F for fair, and P for poor. So I say E for effort and E for excellent, because at least you tried. Nothing beats a failure, but that's what they say. So at least those people who were first putting their hand into the soil to try to get it dirty, at least you tried. That's the first point. The second point is, it has also, this world situation has also redefined what food actually is. And some people call food oodles and noodles. There's a comedian, and she, Adele, I forget her last name, a sister, and she talked about her kids in an old skit, and she said her kids would eat oodles of noodles, and she said, that's not effing food. And I laughed, because it's really not food. Like, some people think that a meal of oodles of noodles is food, you know. And then there was this thing that I discovered, I didn't discover, it was told to me that you can take some oodles of noodles, ramen noodles, and I'm sorry, that happens to be a brand name, and I'm not pushing it. Ramen noodles, and put a can of tuna in it, and it's considered a meal or meat or something. And I said, who came up with that? So my source said, well, that's what the dude in jails eat, and that's what my cousin was eating, and he really likes it. Now, I thought that was a low-key dig for comfortability of being incarcerated. Like, hey, you can still eat meat while you're incarcerated. Like, no, that's not a meal. That's not even struggle food, okay? And those of us who know or don't know what struggle food is considered, it's whatever you eat because you're struggling, you know. Where I am now, I would consider some things struggle food, where the next person will consider it to be a meal. And one of those things is Spam, because it's scrap meat in my mind, because I know better and I don't consider that food. when we get to define what food is. There's a man who, his name is Michael Pollan. He's a writer, and he has some other occupations or designations, and he writes about food all the time. And he happens to be, I knew a woman who, through work, who was close friends with him and his wife. And whenever he dropped a new book, they would, I think it's Pollard actually, they would send her a copy of it. And before, I would mail it to her, but before I mailed it, I would devour that book. So if a book is like 200 pages, I could take it down in 3 days. I can. Because that's something like 80 times 3, 80 times 3, maybe. I do 80 pages a day. You know, between my bathroom time and my downtime during my commute, I could do 80 pages a day. And then the print, depending on the print. So with that being said, yeah, he writes about food and food production and things of that nature, and the actual definition of food. So we also always get to define food, and for each person that may be different. So for me, at this where I am in my life, I have more knowledge of food and food prep, and not based on the USDA, but food prep and history, my own history of my own food and my own family. And when we grew up, we did eat Spam, like, and back in the 70s, the odd thing about that is that those were considered convenience foods, and convenience foods in the 70s were like a luxury depending on your finances, because you didn't pay, I don't know what it cost back then, maybe I'll ask my mother. You didn't pay, you didn't spend that much money on the convenience of food. Like my mother used to go shopping, and when she bought TV dinners, I have no clue what one looks like now, but thank you, sir. It used to be fun to eat a TV dinner on the TV tray in front of the TV, and it used to be this tray with little compartments, and it always had that little dessert. It was either apple something or like a brownie cake or something like that, and some deep fried chicken or something, and mashed potatoes and corn. There it is. And it was like fancy, and then you throw the container away. So that was considered convenience. We didn't, to my knowledge, you know, looking back, I now know we didn't have those kind of convenience to be throwing stuff out like that. And so food gets defined depending upon who you are, and they call that culture, or they're attached to cultures too. I was watching this travel show yesterday. There is a guy who, he does something like Andrew Zimmern. He travels to different places and tries their food. And he was in Iran yesterday. That's what they were showing as I was doing what I do. And so the more he visited several places in Iran, and the more mountainous he got, the foods changed. What we would call struggle food, they called their delicacies, so forth, and you know. And so I was floored, because I'm like, I'm not eating that. And they're Muslims, a lot of them were Muslims, so there's certain things they would not eat. But when you got up in the mountains or up in the deserts, they ate what they could, and a lot of it was like, one place it was like camel, and camel is considered non-halal, and they were eating that, and they were, I mean, like ribs and everything, and doing different things with the bones and the hoofs and things of that nature, and everything but the pig. And they considered that food, even some blood meals, you know, and some stuff that it's like, okay, I'm gagging thinking about it. Like, I don't do a lot of organ meats, although some populations and some cultures say, oh, you've got to eat the organ meats. No, not for me. I believe DNA makes a difference in what you're eating, and location definitely makes a difference in what you're eating. But back to what I initially the point I'm trying to make, that food is defined by the user defined, or the eater, with all those other variables underneath. So trying to grow your own food on your kitchen windowsill is an E for effort. My channel now is going to I will try to concentrate on container gardening, because at least those people who don't have what they think, I don't have land, I don't have a place, this and that, there's always somewhere. If you did conversions in your home, you can grow, you can grow something. And nutritious food, okay, can be grown. Now, nutrition and food are two different things. We go to the market or the supermarket, and it's big, it's super, and it's got all these different choices. Now, if we did a nutrition check, an NC, then we would know that most of the stuff there is not nutritious. It is it's packaged and it's been processed. So let's get those two things unmixed up. So growing your food, when you live from the ground, it is a horse of a different color, and you taste the difference. Your taste buds say, hey, that's a tomato, hey, that's a cucumber, and then it goes from there. I always tell people when if I'm out eating or something, I kind of avoid salads a lot because I'm salad bougie, and bougie actually means middle class, but I mean it in the way that people mean it when they say, oh, he or she is so bougie, like trying to insult the person, when in French bougie means middle class. So some people, I'm bougie, like, you think so? So I'm not middle class on salad, but because I've grown my own, nothing else will do. Like a homegrown cucumber or a homegrown tomato is like, OMG, wow. You go to a wow, OMG, like, oh, and you really taste what food tastes like depending upon if you are defining it. And herbivores, which human beings are herbivores. Our digestive system is so long that some of the foods, as defined by us personally, that we eat are what's causing the illnesses that we experience, including obesity, including myself. And that is something else I'm going to work on. And I thank you for joining in on my journey of attempting to live from the ground and in better health. I'm going to, this is my first video, I'm going to begin by documenting as much as I can and learning to edit better, and give as many tips and as much information as I can, because I've learned so much from all those folks out there who have proffered their information and their experiences, and especially the Grow Family Network. I love them. They're cool people, great family. With that being said, I'm going to conduct some business, and I bid you peace and hair grease, and I urge you to live from the ground. Later.